to make it myself.
Yeah, I'd like a chicken bowl, please.
So we do actually eat Chipotle a lot, and the idea for this video came because they do forget my vinaigrette sometimes.
Yeah, so I suggested, hey, maybe you can learn how to make it yourself. We can keep a little bit in the fridge, and then maybe also you can learn how to make the whole salad and my bowl.
So we'll give it a try. Maybe it'll work, maybe it won't.
True, but let's go big. So we are gonna try to make Chipotle chicken. We're gonna try to make the rice. We're gonna try to make the beans, and we're gonna try to make the vinaigrette that got us started on this journey to begin with. We also like to have lettuce and cheese, but we're just gonna buy those. We've opted not to grow them and manufacture them ourselves.
We'd starve. We're gonna have to start with marinating the chicken because it needs 8 hours to marinate for all that good Chipotle flavor.
All right, so let's go get our ingredients and we'll get this party started.
The marinade for the Chipotle chicken recipe uses a can of Chipotle peppers in adobo sauce. We're actually just using the sauce. This is a 7.5 ounce can. We'll have about half of a small red onion, 2 tablespoons of olive oil, chili powder, cumin, and Mexican oregano. You could use Greek oregano if that's what you have, salt, pepper, and cloves of garlic. We've gathered all these ingredients and we're gonna be blending them together with an immersion blender in this large cup. We're gonna start with the adobo sauce from the can of Chipotle peppers. We're only using the sauce. If you wanted it a little spicier, you could include some of the peppers.
I am a wimp, so let's not. I can't get this open. Okay, so that's kind of disgusting, but
You can use the fork to hold the peppers back and just pour in the juices.
pour it in, okay. Was that a pepper?
That was a pepper. We'll dig it out in a minute. You could actually use adobo paste and add a little bit of water to do this as well, but adobo paste is a lot harder to find. I'm gonna remove about half a tablespoon of this sauce to reserve for my vinaigrette.
Okay, great. I've added the sauce and made a huge mess.
Yeah. All right, so to that we're going to add this roughly chopped half a red onion.
It's roughly chopped, roughly poured.
I am just going to press the garlic cloves right into here. And when you use a press like this, the peels just stay in the press.
And you could just use minced garlic.
It's all gonna be pureed, so I'm not worried how it starts out.
And all of these other dry ingredients just go in?
Yes, that's the tablespoon of chili powder, a teaspoon of cumin, and a teaspoon of Mexican oregano. Then we have 2 teaspoons of salt and a teaspoon of black ground pepper, and 2 tablespoons of olive oil.
All right, now what?
Would you like to learn to use the immersion blender?
Well, it's got crap on it from when I spewed the other stuff. So maybe I should clean it first. We're back, it's clean, let's roll. All right.
There you go. Yeah, just kind of up and down. Move the blender straight up and down.
Oh, there we go. All right, just a disgusting smoothie.
It is a little disgusting looking, and it's also a little thick. So we're gonna start by adding a little bit of water so that it kind of runs in the blender a little bit. I have about a 1/4 cup of water here, and I'm gonna add about half of that now and let him blend it some more.
Better, right?
Better. I think we'll give it a little more
Just
water.
a little more, okay. So how much was that total?
This was a 1/4 cup total that we've added. That's thick enough to coat the chicken, but it's also thin enough that it will spread out and not make globs on the chicken. So we rinse this carefully, and we're ready to add this to some chicken.
So I'm supposed to rinse this.
Yes, please. I'm using a mix of boneless, skinless chicken thighs and boneless, skinless chicken breasts, and I'm going to trim them, and I'm going to fillet the breast so that it's thinner when we cook them.
You want each one of these to only be about 1/2 inch thick at most,
Right.
to make sure it gets fully coated
Right.
into those little delicious chicken squares that we're gonna make.
So now I have thin pieces of chicken here. Just cut my fingernail.
It'll grow back.
I'm gonna put this chicken into a Ziploc bag so we can marinate in there.
Okay.
Go ahead and pour the marinade into the bag. We'll squish it around.
Just all of it?
Mm-hmm.
Not a pretty process.
We're gonna seal this up and massage the marinade into the chicken, remove as much air as we can, and refrigerate for 8 hours or overnight.
Next is the salad dressing. Okay, now while the chicken marinates, you can actually make the salad dressing because that can be made in advance and then put in the fridge. So how do we do this?
It's gonna come together very easily. We're just gonna measure the ingredients into a jar, shake it up, and store it in the fridge.
All right, let's look at those ingredients.
This recipe calls for honey, red wine vinegar, olive oil, adobo sauce from the can of Chipotle peppers, and these spices: salt, pepper, Mexican oregano, cumin, and garlic powder. We're gonna add 1/3 cup of honey.
I'm glad you did that, not me, because otherwise it would have been very, very messy.
Next, I'm going to add our spices. Next, we need about 1/2 cup of red wine vinegar. I'm gonna use the measuring lines on the side of my jar to make this simple, but you could use a measuring cup. Now I'll be adding 1 cup of olive oil. Often when I make salad dressings, I reduce the amount of oil, usually by half, because I just don't need that much oil in my salad dressing. The last thing I'm going to add is this adobo sauce from the can of Chipotle peppers. We reserved this when we were making the marinade. I'm going to add just about half of this at a time. This is a tablespoon, and I'm going to add about half of it so I can shake the dressing up, taste it, and see if it's the right spiciness for me. You wanna shake it?
I'm kind of scared. What shaking does this need?
We want those spices good and blended, and the honey to unstick from the bottom. Some shaking
some more
to go.
shaking.
That's plenty of heat for me. It's good. That's the way I like it. I know that most people will want more spice in theirs, but this is good for me.
So I can just go in the fridge?
This can go in the refrigerator for tomorrow. Once your chicken has sufficiently marinated, it's time to get started on the other components, the beans and the rice, and then we'll cook the chicken.
Nice. Let's look at our ingredients.
So our beans will have, of course, black beans, a whole finely chopped onion, some olive oil, 3 cloves of minced garlic. We have the spices that are salt, Chipotle chili powder, and we've reduced this to 1/2 teaspoon because 1 teaspoon sounded like it would be way too spicy for us. Black pepper, a teaspoon of cumin, a 1/2 teaspoon of our Mexican oregano, and a bay leaf. And then we have 2 tablespoons of lemon juice and 2 tablespoons of lime juice. The first thing you want to do is drain and rinse your black beans. I'm heating a small pot over medium heat. I'll start with about 2 tablespoons of olive oil, and I'll add to that 1 whole minced onion. We'll let this onion get more translucent. Once the onions begin to turn translucent, I'll add 3 cloves of minced garlic and just let that get fragrant. Next, we'll add our drained and rinsed black beans, salt, chipotle powder, cumin, black pepper, Mexican oregano, and a bay leaf, and 2 cups of water. We're gonna bring these to a boil and let them simmer for 30 minutes until it's thickened. I'm gonna move this to the back burner to simmer for 30 minutes, and I'll get started on the rice. For our rice, we'll be combining 2 cups of rice with a bay leaf, a little bit of olive oil, 4 cups of water. Once it's cooked, we'll be adding 2 tablespoons of chopped cilantro and 2 tablespoons of lemon juice and 2 tablespoons lime juice. To begin our rice, I'm going to add 2 cups of basmati rice and 1 bay leaf. Then I'll be adding 4 cups of water and about a teaspoon of olive oil. I'm gonna bring this to a boil and I'm going to cook it according to the package directions about 15 minutes. I need to remove the bay leaf. And we'll let this cool for about 15 minutes before adding the cilantro and lime juice. It's time to add 2 tablespoons of chopped cilantro to the rice, 2 tablespoons lemon juice, and 2 tablespoons lime juice. This would be a good time to taste it and add salt. All right, these beans have been simmering for 30 minutes. The sauce has thickened up quite a bit. I'm gonna remove that bay leaf, and it's time to add the lemon and lime juice. Now we'll let that rest. Now it's time to put our chicken pieces directly on the grill. I'll let these cook about 3 to 4 minutes per side because they're very thin. We want them cooked through. I'm gonna cut this hot chicken into cubes.
So apparently Chipotle also double grills their meat, so they cook it as a big fillet and then they cut it and then they cook it again. So
you want me to do that?
yes, please.
All right, I'm gonna move this over to the stove and sear this one more time in a hot skillet for Doug.
Thank you.
I think I'll work in 2 batches to fit this in the pan. Get a nice crispy edge. I don't want to overcook the chicken, so it's just a quick sizzle and then into the bowl.
All right, so let's assemble our dishes. I like a bowl, you like a salad. So let's get started here. I get rice.
I've got power greens.
Get some beans. I can't help but notice the beans are heavily onioned.
Very oniony.
Too much onion.
I'm ready for chicken.
Okay.
On top of my power greens.
All right, now I wanna do it the Chipotle way. I'm gonna get a huge scoop and now I'm gonna shake it and get rid of 75% of what I just got.
All right. The only thing remaining on mine is cheese.
I get some lettuce on mine, so I'm
gonna put my dressing on.
Oh yeah, I'd totally forgotten about the dressing.
They always do.
All right.
Chipotle at home.
Bon appetit. It's not bad.
It's not bad. You know what it's not though? Chipotle.
Chipotle. Yeah, also it's not made by somebody else. It took a long time.
You know, Chipotle's only like 3 miles down the road.
This is more like Chipotle.
Just a little off.
Now, anyone who says that this is exactly like Chipotle from those recipes, they're lying.
False.
Yeah. All right, if you like what you've seen so far, hit that like. If you want to see more videos about recipes and reviews and kitchen education, hit subscribe. What did we learn?
Let's start with the vinaigrette. Way too sweet. I would cut that honey in half. And don't be afraid to use the full amount of the adobo sauce because that spice really did not come through when the whole salad was put together.
So the rice was actually pretty close, but the beans were not close at all. So they were actually too spicy, even though we had cut the amount of spice in half. And there were a ton of onions on it as well, which you couldn't really taste them, but that's also not like Chipotle. And they had way too much lime. Like that lemon lime amount, I don't know, reduce it by half or something, but it was crazy. They were lima beans.
Oh dear. And last, the chicken. It wasn't really like Chipotle's chicken at all. I actually found it quite moist and tender.
Yeah, I think they actually put it in that second grill for quite a bit longer than we did, which will really crisp up those edges. It dries it out a bit, so it's not quite as moist, but I think that extra crispiness on each piece adds quite a bit.
Also the seasoning itself, the marinade was not quite what Chipotle does. I'm not sure how to fix it, but it wasn't as spicy and it wasn't as flavorful as Chipotle's chicken.
Yeah.
I know it sounds like we're ragging on these recipes a little bit, but actually it was a very good meal. Everybody ate it, maybe not so much on the beans, but it was very edible.
So if you know something that actually tastes really close to Chipotle, let us know in the comments below, and we'll see you next time.